Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig, and I'm very excited. Today, my guest is, they've been in so many things. There's so much to talk about, so we got to get right into it. Stafford, hello, buddy. How are you?
Great, Craig. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being here.
it.
Yeah, we got so much to talk about. We're going to get to Theatre Calgary and A Streetcar Named Desire, which I'm super excited about. But I want to start off with you, your career. It says I've read up on you. I've done some, done my research. And it says, you kind of always knew you want to act. You went to U of A for theater. Like, when did you know it was in you that you wanted to do this and to actually make that leap to go into this field?
Yeah, on the way, that's a great question. Yeah, because it takes a little bit of a leap of faith. It's not like, it's a challenging thing to pursue. It takes a little bit of courage, right?
Yeah.
But it's been something I've loved. Always loved performing, loved theater. It kind of wanting many things that I did, but it was the one thing where you get to try so many different things, right? And when you can't make up your mind, you're like, well, I'll go to theater and then I can, kind of pretend to do it all.
It's true. You can be a fireman, you could be a teacher, you can be whatever you want.
Totally. You totally do. And actually, because when I first went to university, I went for political science.
Oh,
So it was a bit of a, like, even though I knew I had that desire to do it, I had questions around the career and what it meant. And
yeah.
so I went into a political science degree. And I was at the same time auditioning for like the university plays that were happening. And I got into a production of The Crucible,
Oh, yeah.
Arthur Miller. And it's like it's a really political show.
Yeah.
So I was going to these poli-sci classes, which I enjoyed, but they were very textbook. And then I was going and jumping into this like immersive experience of doing this play. And for me, I was like, well, this is like, feels more impactful in certain ways.
Right.
I'm like, this is actually a really powerful way to do this. So I switched. From the poli-sci into the theater department.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the leap of faith, right? I was like, oh, okay.
You kind of need to, like, I mean, so many people talk about acting, have that dream, and people sometimes don't make it. And maybe because they actually don't have the skills, they don't have the determination. So it's a big ballsy move to do this.
I was young and dumb.
But
Yeah.
I liked what you said, though, because that's one of the things I love about movies, television, theater, is it's such a great way for people to learn and talk about stuff. You could take political science and try and explain to your friends and family, and they'll be like, this is boring, I don't understand it. But then you watch it, and then you understand what somebody's talking about, right?
Yeah, that's it. Like it's a way of understanding people, telling stories, connecting. And I knew like all my other things I was interested in going to. I'm like, I want to work with people.
Yeah.
I love working with people. I love digging into it. And storytelling is just such a like interactive way of doing it. So it felt like a logical progression. And for me, it's like, like the challenges within the theater, but the application of theater for me has always been like a kind of, I see it applied in so many other ways as well.
Yeah.
So you understand why people connect to it, right? Through TV, through storytelling, right? Even podcasts, like just ways people want to connect.
Yeah.
People want to work through things and people want to do it together. And theater does that. Theater brings people together for a conversation and people work through things by watching a story. So that's
I'd like it. So you're in school and you transition to theater and you're doing theater. So I wanted to ask you, this is a great time to kind of start this, because you've done and are currently doing theater, but you also do film and television. What do you like about both of them, and why is there times where you're like, I don't want to do any more theater, or I don't want to do any more film, and you just want to stick with the other one, and then you're like, go back? Because they're very different. They're different.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, very different. It's fortunately here in Calgary and in Alberta, we have strong communities of both. Like it's a unique place for actors and for artists. We have a strong film and TV community, and it legitimately feels like a community too. It's growing big in size, but there's, you can build really real relationships, and we have a strong theater community. And for me, getting to do both is such a gift.
Yeah.
Like there's something thrilling about like working together with a theater ensemble. You rehearse for, a month, 4 weeks intense rehearsal. And then you do the show together every night. So there's this real bond, a real ensemble, and then you're sharing it live with an audience.
Yeah.
And that is exciting. Also nerve-wracking too, right? Like there's a stress of having to do it every night. You're like, okay, I did it once.
Yeah.
Can we just... And film offers a very different sort of way of working with people. A really big team, it's still absolutely like an ensemble and teamwork. But you come in and you play your part for that moment. You kind of get things down, and then you leave it for a long time, and you don't see it till it comes out. So there's a real freedom in film and TV.
Yeah.
Where you come in on that day, you can be, you can just kind of play. You get multiple takes. It's nerve-wracking in a different way because, high pressure of cameras and money, a lot of money goes. But it frees you up in a certain way. But those, for me, in my mind anyway, there's lots of different approaches. But the theater training gave me the way to work, the way to rehearse, the way to prepare for that moment when I'm on camera.
Yeah.
So when you come and do a film and TV thing, you don't meet people, and then all of a sudden you're in the moment and they're like, you got to do it now, and let's do it. So all that prep that I know how to do came from my theater training.
Right.
And so I love both. I love, and they serve and feed each other. Actually, a lot of the work here in Alberta, because I work with a lot of great theater actors, and I'm always trying to, convince folks. I'm like, you film and TV, like you're an actor. You're an actor. You can do it on either medium, and with some practice and some work. Why don't you find every opportunity to act? Because I feel it translates. I feel it really translates.
Yeah, and you get to do. Yeah, like when you're filming something, like you said, you can do like multiple takes and change those things. With theater, you can't do multiple takes in one night, but you can change things up from each performance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Both, you're trying to keep it like live and real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you rehearse things, but like really great actors. I'm working with some fantastic actors right now. And every night it's alive. It's slightly different from moment to moment. We know it's really well rehearsed. We know it well, but you try and keep it alive and breathing. And film allows you to do more of that, so you can really practice it and bring it back to the theater world of like, how do we keep this really, really real?
Yeah.
Even though you're doing it 8 shows, 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
How
do you maintain that kind of drive and enjoyment of that character for doing it 8 times a week, and then for a month long, and plus you were doing the rehearsal before? How do you keep that enjoyment and drive going?
It's the experience itself is super enjoyable. It's about being present, right? Like and it never doesn't get, you're in front of an audience. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades. You never don't get, for me anyway, like slightly excited, it's still a vulnerable thing. So that keeps you present.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like the ultimate practice of what like acting can offer you is like, how do you practice being responsive and being in the moment and being there, even though you're like, okay, I've done this a lot. You could go on autopilot. The enjoyment is in staying present and staying in it. And people are paying to come see you. So you want to give a good show. You want to offer what you can, but it's also what makes it enjoyable. I'm like, I'm going to be here, I'm on, doing this show and the theater schedule's challenging, right? You're out evenings, weekends. You're like, hey, I'm going to be here. I want to put everything I have into it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So keeping it alive, keeping it impulsive, and people are endlessly fascinating. So there's always more things to find within scripts or within a character.
Yeah.
Especially really great characters are like, oh, there's always more to find. Coming back to do a remount of like Streetcar Named Desire, coming back, we've already, run this, and I'm discovering things that I'm like, how did I not see this before?
Well, that's I was going to bring this up, so now's the perfect time. You're in A Streetcar Named Desire, which Tennessee Williams play. I remember reading in high school and friggin' loved it. And then watching the movie, you're playing Stanley, such an iconic role. Marlon Brando is like, kind of what comes to people's mind. So tell me about getting into such a well-known role and making it your own.
That's a great question. It's so funny actually. Often when I tell people I'm doing the show, they're like, "Oh, Streetcar Named Desire." They're like, "Oh, are you playing Marlon Brando?" I'm like, "No, it's Stanley." But right, like people just automatically have that image, and it's super iconic. Um, but but the play itself, just he's like yourself. So many folks have read it in high school, read familiar with it, and the play itself is so strong.
Yeah.
And having a performance like Marlon Brando's and that kind of iconic, it's because it's so supported by the play, by the script itself.
Yeah.
So I had that in my mind. You have these images, but the minute you dive into playing these scenes, you realize how strong the script is, and it does become your own. But it's also something really powerful in realizing, certain plays that you do, it's a play that's resonated for decades.
Right.
That so many folks have played these characters that you feel a real strong supporting connection to a community beyond just like one performance. And it's a challenging piece. It's poetic. It's like emotional. So by the time you dive into actually just playing the scenes, you can't do anything but just go for the ride and make it your own. Like you can't, there's no point in recreating. It's too rich to be trying to do a recreation. And I'm very, as much as I'd like to think I'm very different than Marlon Brando, right? There's a different energy, but the story, the scenes, the work of Tennessee Williams is so amazing to work with that you can learn from folks who've done it in the past, but it's such you're so supported by what the script offers that it's a gift as an actor. It's a gift as an actor.
And it's such it's one of those things that, has been around for decades, and it's still so popular and so important. And then you see it referenced in other things, whether it's an actual storyline and loosely inspired, or even, there's a classic Simpsons episode where Marge is in it, but it stands the test of time. Why do you think Tennessee Williams work, specifically Streetcar Named Desire, has stood this test of time?
Oh yeah, and it sure does. Like the amount of folks who come to see this play right now who come out and be like, I thought I knew it, but it feels new.
Yeah,
it feels like a current story. It feels new. It's more immediate, more emotional, and more hard hitting than people remember.
Right.
And I think it's because he was diving into these deep relationships with people that don't really get dated.
Yep.
The insecurities within a relationship, the challenges, it deals with some really challenging interpersonal relationship, content. The relationship between the sisters, between Stella and Blanche, the real conflict between Blanche and Stanley, the classism, these elements of struggle and interpersonal dynamics, sexuality. It's a very it's just a personal, intimate, and heated show, and that stuff doesn't get dated.
Yeah.
It doesn't, right? It looks at so many things that are just so core to struggles that people have in their lives. And we're still struggling and facing those things today, right? The things that Blanche faces, the things that Stanley, Stella, all of it resonates today. And it's just, and through the work of Tennessee Williams, it's in this it's funny because it's sort of heightened, sort of poetic, but it's also so down to earth and rooted at the same time. So it's people hear lines that they're like, oh, that's that old play I studied in high school. And then in the context, you're like, oh, that's what that meant. And that connects to something that's so real and so present now. Yeah, it's wild. Some of the lines, some of the scenes you're digging into, and you're like, this could be written today.
Yeah, and that's what's great. And there is a look to it. It's the setting is it's not necessarily their current time because there's no mention of things. There's no cell phones, but a good production, you get sucked into it and you don't even realize that it's not taking place in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of gives audiences because the style is beautiful. We have the music, the singing, the style is something that people love. It's a real enjoyable factor. You're going to see this beautiful play, but it gives a little bit of distance so people can actually connect to it more.
Yeah.
So funny. I got to play a small part in this film that was filmed here in Alberta with Jude Law called The Order.
Oh yeah.
It just kind of has been released this past like little while, and it was supposed to have a really like a large release, and it has had a bit of a smaller release now. And I don't know the real reasons behind, but it's so hard hitting and it's so immediate that it's almost too much for folks to deal with in a way.
Really?
It deals with a lot of like white nationalism and like some things that are just so present right now that it would be hard to release wide because it's so current. Whereas with Streetcar, it still is, but you have this like a bit of distance because of the style and the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just such a, like I said, it's stood the test of time. So many people have performed these roles, and there's a reason why people keep going back to it, and the different productions do it because it's so relevant without hitting it over the head what we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah, it's told through characters. It's told through this beautiful language. It's told through a very like personal story. It's not. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Well, while we're on the subject of Streetcar Named Desire, it's at Theatre Calgary. It's just starting off and running till February 23rd. But what's it like to work with Theatre Calgary?
I love it. Like again, I'm really proud to be like a Alberta artist.
Yeah.
You know, like I think what we have is pretty special, and I, had opportunities to go and work other communities, but my family, I'm basically born and raised here in Alberta.
Yeah.
And so Theatre Calgary was always one of those places that I wanted to work. I see it, and as a young kid, I went there with school field trips and stuff. What I did, and I've been fortunate to, like, the first show I did there was back in 2008. So I've had an ability to come back there, over the last kind of couple decades, but to come and do a piece like this,
Yeah.
and a role like Stanley in Streetcar at Theatre Calgary is pretty special for me. And it is world class. Like, that's the thing. You go and, I've been fortunate to get to work at places across the country and other places as well. And just so proud of what we offer here in Calgary. And I think, so it's just a real, it's a real honor for me. And also just, I think it's theater at its highest level. It's a beautiful facility, incredible team. And then, for me, I know I get to share it with the Calgary community.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's a beautiful place.
It's so nice. And everybody who works there, whether they're behind the scenes or box office, everybody I've ever encountered at Theatre Calgary are just so nice, and they love what they're doing. And it's so great to see that here in Calgary and have this great, well-known theater company.
I think it is. I think we should be really proud. And we bring people from across, like shows that start here and going towards Broadway, people from Broadway coming to perform here. And I think we can really be proud of what we have here. Local artists that I think work at like an international level.
Yeah.
So it's cool. And I'm always proud too when I get to work with a lot of like international artists. And I really like to, just represent Calgary, the Calgary community well, show that we can really do this at a high level and approach it with a lot of heart, a lot of kindness. We also have like a great community feel, which is maybe part of like, I don't know what it is. Like we feel like a smaller town. Like there's sometimes we're self-deprecating, but I'm like, we can offer so much. And I think people are always really amazed when they come here from, whether it's coming from Toronto, New York, they come and they're like, oh, wow, it's pretty good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So stepping away from theater for a little bit, you're playing Stanley, like I said. It's a interesting character. There's a lot of thoughts on it. Sometimes he's not viewed as the nicest person. You've got a wide variety of roles here. I want to know, first of all, what type of genres of movies do you like to watch? Because you're in every type.
Is it? It's funny. Yeah, I kind of do. I'm kind of all over the map.
Yeah, you got like Rent-A-Groom, you got Finding Mr. Right, and then you got Blood Mountain. Like, it's just various characters.
And I get to play like again a lot of like some villains. So I did this Black Summer series where it was I was this real dirt bag, and then I get to play a lot of kind of like nice guys and cops and stuff too. Um, that's I'm lucky, right? I'm lucky too, and I think that's maybe theater trained too. You kind of have a little bit more variety, and fortunately too, like the casting director the ones here are really wonderful. So they don't really typecast you.
Yeah.
I've been able to have like a lot of opportunities and different stuff. But so I have 2 young kids, so my like what I watch
is not what you're in.
well, but it's it's so funny. Like I really even opportunity to comedy is something that is like some of the best actors that I've gotten to work with are the folks who have like the best like comedy chops.
Yeah.
You think of some of those. So getting to do some like comedy stuff is really, really enjoyable. And on camera though, I will say I do love digging into like villains.
Yeah. You've got a few of them on your IMDb there.
Yeah.
And like I saw, I watched your demo reel as well, and I've seen clips of Black Summer. Like, yeah, you're not the nicest.
That's where I get it out. I get it out. My real life, I try to be kind.
It's fun to play the villain though.
It's kind of liberating, right? Like you have you can dig into some of the ugliness and you just get a little bit of freedom. And also you have very strong like tactics and motivations to play.
Right.
Sometimes when you're playing more of the good guy or the like, doing some of the sort of rom-com sort of like lead guys, there's this sometimes a desire to get to be try and be appealing, try and be like likable, try and be things that are super playable as an actor.
Yeah.
Whereas a villain, you're like, hey, I don't need to worry about how I come across or appear. I need to just worry about like what I want in this scene and go for it and can be kind of ugly in it and let it rip a bit more. But the variety is nice, right? It's constantly challenging.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, how like you can kind of be anything or anyone by being an actor. You also like, worked on Black Summer and Winona Earp, so you also get to live in these worlds of supernatural and zombies and monsters.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, these kind of like heightened. That's the cool thing about being on a movie set. Sometimes you're like, how did I get into this situation where you have like people fully in their zombie outfits and you're running around in this, and it's just so cool. You're like, this is and fun, and you're like in these other worlds where it's just you're playing with your imagination but it's all really there to respond to a play, and it's freaking fun.
Yeah,
it's so freaking fun.
So, and of course we talked about these big teams and money when it comes to productions like film and television. But I wanted to specifically talk to you about Blood Mountain, because that one is like very unique because it's that like found footage type style. So were you doing a lot of the filming?
No, it was GoPros.
So yeah,
we did have like some pretty cool like camera technology. So we started out with some actual GoPros, but then we had like the DOP and the film team had these incredible machines where they were running around doing a lot of the filming. Right. But often we would be filming the scenes with our GoPro cameras. So not only are you acting in the scene, but you're also trying to like frame up your part. Yeah. Well, you're holding the camera for their coverage. So it was like a total like immersive, and what a team. Like that's an Alberta team, because that was a little while ago.
Yeah.
So many folks from that Blood Mountain team are doing some really incredible stuff here in Alberta, like Polyscope and that company.
Yeah.
And the cinematographer, the folks that worked on that Blood Mountain, so many of them have gone on, are doing such incredible things. But at that time, it was like this little boot camp where we all went out by Sundre, into the mountains, into this forest area, and filmed this like found footage where we were all kind of in the trenches together. And it was such an experience, so fun. Even being on some bigger sets with some of those people recently, we look back at that, really fondly.
Yeah.
Because you're in it. It was messy. It was really real. It was really kind of like raw. And, in hindsight, okay, if there was a bigger budget, certain things about it we would do slightly different, but the storytelling and some of the feel of it really resonated and led to some really cool things. But it was so fun.
Yeah. Well,
And so
you're not the villain in that one. So what's it like to play a character like that, where you're, for people who don't know, like you're on a biking trip, like you and two other guys. It's very small, and there's some hunters, some bad people out in the woods that start hunting you. What's it like to play like that role?
and, again, fun. You get to tap into that inner, like, that inner play where you're out playing in the forest.
Yeah.
And you set up these high stakes scenarios where it's life and death, and you get to play those scenarios out. And a lot of that too, because it was kind of a close to home sort of part. It was a character that was kind of like really close to who I am. Even the actor who played my wife in it, that's actually my wife.
Oh yeah.
The baby at the beginning, that was actually my son. Yeah, who was 8 months at the time. So it was like really kind of close to home.
Yeah.
So a lot of reality digging, and actually, the other actor in it is my brother, who's also an actor. Yes. So Joe Perry, who's a really talented actor too, that's my brother. So we were playing brothers.
Yeah.
So there's so much like of this like sense of reality that we could really play within those scenes.
Yeah.
And it was, again, just like this enjoyment of playing. I think like as we grow up as adults, like that's the beauty of being an actor, and is you don't lose that sense of the enjoyment of play and imagination in a really real way, because it's high stakes. You got blood, you got like danger, but it's just so fun.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
So after filming that, or while filming it, did it make you question if you could survive in that situation? Like how would you, Stafford, how would you fare in this situation?
Oh, I would have been toast. I would have been so toast. Especially because the folks that play the kind of threatening people within that, I was like, I can survive out here. It's a city boy. That's it. Yeah.
Well, same with Black Summer. Would you survive in a zombie apocalypse?
That's I think I would, but I would have used very different tactics than Phil did. For folks who haven't seen it, it's like not a nice guy, backstabbing, conniving. I think I would have chosen a more community approach. Gotta try to connect with people and not so much not the manipulation.
That seems to be the two characters in most zombie things. You think everything that's ever come out, 28 Days Later, The Walking Dead, Dawn of the Dead, there's either you got to be like all for community and be kind and welcoming and supportive, or you have to be the biggest jackass on the planet.
Totally is, right? It is. It's so funny. It is. It's like, it's interesting. Two instincts are they're like, hey, I'm going to survive by just looking out for me, or I need other people because I'm screwed without them. Yeah. And I think I'd be screwed without other people. I need help.
Oh, yeah. I need help too. I can't do anything. I would be so bad at this zombie apocalypse. I'd be like, I can entertain you. That's about all I can do. I can ask you trivia questions.
Yeah. Actually, do you see Station 11?
Yes.
Yeah, like Station. That's what I was thinking, right? Where because there's that like theater kind of troupe too. That's I'm like, that's where I'd be. I've been useful, but like, let's put on a play.
Yeah, let's put on a play. Let's do this. Well, so speaking of community and being with people, you were part of something. One of my friends, I love him. You were in Plain View, directed by Matt Waterworth. I friggin' love Matt, and I watched this film, and it's so good. Matt was on my podcast, and I just raved about it because I think it's so fantastic. And you were great in it.
Oh, thanks. Great. Yeah. Matt's a gem.
Yeah.
And and such a great person in this community. I think he's such a mentor for so many young filmmakers. Does a lot of teaching and connecting, and he was just so great to work with, especially at that time in my career. Again, I was kind of getting more opportunities, but to get to play like a sort of like a lead role in a feature, to have Matt there to work with was so great.
Yeah.
Just creative and caring and smart. And I was really proud of what that film ended up being. And how we worked on it too. Again, so many folks from that I built really great relationships with. Chantel Perron and a bunch of really cool folks. But it was such a pleasure. Like, and again, an Alberta sort of story where we were using this landscape, the aesthetic that like Matt was diving into with it, and Kevin Dory, the screenwriter. It had a great feel. It had a great feel and a great team where we were working with what we do well here in Alberta.
Yeah.
It was great. And I got to grow this big beard.
Yeah, it was great and it looked fantastic. Everybody did such a great job with it and I absolutely loved it. And so, speaking of like Alberta and being part of this stuff, what's it like when you have things like this that take place that do viewings at SIFF, like to be a Calgary International Film Fest and be a part of that? What's that like for you?
Again, it's just so proud to represent this community on any sort of scale where people come from, internationally or across the country to just get to be a part of what we offer here.
Yeah.
That I think is a real gift to other people. That's why people are coming here to make movies. People are coming here for our incredible crews, for our incredible like locations, but also like just what we offer here as artists on all levels. So it's I could pretend I'm a bigger deal and those things don't like, it's never all that. Like I'm excited to get to go to any sort of award show or have anything screen that I was able to be a part of any scale. Like I don't take it for granted. That's the thing as an actor, especially a Canadian actor, right? You're always working, right? You're always, you never get to a place where you can kind of rest on what you've done. So you never take it for granted and you never stop being kind of like proud. And I try to really savor those moments. I got to work on Tribal, which was a TV series that filmed here and got to do some stuff through SIFF and was able to really kind of showcase that. And I was just like, it was so exciting for me.
Yeah.
I feel, you feel proud, you feel, you just kind of soak it in and yeah. I never pretend I'm like, oh yeah, do this all the time because I don't get to, you soak it up when you do.
Yeah. And then you get nominations and awards like the Bettys and Stinger, Rosie. What does that feel like for you? What is that like when you get those nominations come out?
It's awesome. And I love to try and celebrate other people when they get it too and not downplay it for myself too, because it's great whenever folks get celebrated. And it's not a direct, it's not a specific science. So it's, like there's lots of people who don't get acknowledged or celebrated who should, but it doesn't take away from the people who do. And when I get those opportunities, I'm grateful. And I like to use it to express how grateful I am for the folks who have supported me, for the opportunities I've been given, because you do nothing alone, right? So when you do get nominated for an award, you're like, it's based on the people who you're working with, right? The directors, the other actors. For me, again, my family's here in Alberta too. So like to get to bring my dad or my mom to an award show and have them see it too. It's nice to be able to really celebrate the folks who have supported you. It's fun. It's, it's good for the ego too.
Yeah. No, I think for some reason in a society, we were told that we shouldn't always celebrate ourselves. And I think it's so important for us that we do celebrate ourselves and be proud of it, of whatever that may be, whether it's a nomination, an award, doing good on a paper in school, whatever it is, you should be proud of yourself and happy. Don't become an egotistical jackass that, whatever, but celebrate.
Yeah. I'm trying not to, Greg. Keep me in check. But no, you got to, right? And each other too. Like, so when I have colleagues, I want to be as happy, be happy for them too. But I'm really proud of the work I've gotten to do. And to get to do it here, to get to share it with people who I really, build some really real relationships in the community and in the industry.
Yeah.
And I really love and care for the people I get to work with. So yeah, so I love to celebrate. I love to celebrate other people. And when I get an opportunity, I'm like right on.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work too.
Well, I want to celebrate you right now because I did read that you do some work with men and boys about like violence prevention. Tell me about that because I think that's super important and awesome, and I'd love for more people to know about this.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I work with a program called Wise Guys. So I do a program called Wise Guys out of the Center for Sexuality, and I worked with that for 12 years, so over a decade.
Yeah.
And it's a program that now has spread across the country. So it's sort of the first. So it's a evidence informed, research based program that gives life skills and healthy relationship skills to young men.
Yeah.
So from the ages of 13 to 21. And it's a program that's there to support young men to be in relationships that are good for them, also to take care of themselves. Right, we're talking about like, young men having a space where they can really show care for themselves. And it is ultimately a violence prevention program, right, to try and reduce harm that people cause, and specifically for young men. And so I'm so grateful to get to lead that and share that work and be a part of it, especially as it grows across the country. Because I dig into a character like Stanley, which is like this iconic character, but ultimately someone who's quite harmful.
Yeah.
And and so I've learned a lot from sort of those experiences, and then also the social work experience that I bring to it. And with this team, I think it's just important to have those conversations and give young men the skills, right? Like theater for me offered a lot of skills around how to show up in relationships and for myself, an understanding of what I'm experiencing, how to deal with and cope with emotions, how to be empathetic to other people and care for other people. And offering that to young men and ultimately prevent violence is something that is, for some, as I know I'm going to act for the rest of my life, it's something I'll always do. But this work in violence prevention and supporting men and boys is also work that I'll always do.
That's awesome.
So yeah, Wise Guys it's a unique program. It's an incredible program. So yeah, I really encourage anyone who has a young man in their life that they care about, which is most of us, right?
Yeah.
You could think of a man or boy in your life that you really care about and want to support. Look at Wise Guys or other work in that realm, which is about just supporting young men to take care of themselves and ultimately build relationship skills so that they can, connect, not feel isolated, not feel, angry, depressed, and actually ultimately be able to be their authentic selves and really be great folks, like everybody.
And not turn into a Stanley.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's the anti-Stanley problem. That's why I encourage, come see what not to be. So as you get all watch has to come see, and
That's a good way to do it. Yeah, come see the play, see what not to do.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, so after Stanley, such an iconic role, as we said, are there any other iconic roles you would love to play someday?
Gosh, it's such an interesting time because I'm seeing with some of the theater companies and returning to some real classic stories, and maybe it's sort of the drama geek in me too. But there's tons, right?
Yeah.
Death of a Salesman is like Arthur Miller, like really powerful. Willie Loman's I want to play Willie Loman, but like in 30 years. There's some great like Biff Loman in that, like Death of a Salesman for sure. There's Sam Shepard, Sam Shepard, like True West.
Yeah.
True West is a piece that I've always wanted to do. And of course I have a brother too, and it's a play that really centers around two brothers, and I have a brother who's an actor.
Yeah.
So True West is one, a Sam Shepard play.
Anybody listening to this, if you're thinking about this play.
Well, yeah. So those are ones that come to mind. But yeah, like the Arthur Millers, but that Sam Shepard's on my mind right now. Maybe just because it has some similar connections to a World of Tennessee Williams.
Yeah.
That is like, it feels Alberta-ish too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. A little bit like not Western, but like really kind of gritty and really, so yeah. That's it. And that's some comedy too. My gosh, some of these are pretty heavy.
Yeah. I
Some
was gonna say
really dumb.
you need to balance out those roles, which you do, which is great. Like I said, you do a horror movie and then you got like the rom-com, like you got a little bit of everything, but you need to so you don't get these dark characters just always in your head.
Yeah, yeah. You need to do some real dumb. I did the One Man, Two Governors at Theatre Calgary a little while ago, and it was just the dumbest, but so fun.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah. So something silly.
I, I sometimes people forget how good a dumb movie or like role is. They're so much fun and they're great for everybody. Like Christopher Nolan is famous for saying Christopher Nolan, this acclaimed director who makes these very serious, heavy films, his favorite movie, and he will talk at length about it, is MacGruber.
Yes, love it. Exactly. Exactly. I've been watching Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, good.
Steve Martin, Martin Short are just fantastic, and then Selena Gomez added in. The three of them are so good.
So good. Yes. Yes. Leah Gomez kills it.
Yeah.
Like really, really, the three of them together are awesome. Yeah. So yeah, can't underestimate the power of comedy and laughing and being silly for sure. Well, we need that. We need a little bit of that.
We do. We definitely need that. So that leads me to what I always like to ask guests as we wrap up. One of my last questions. What is awesome? Tell me something that's awesome.
What is awesome?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what is awesome?
Can be absolutely anything.
Oh goodness. Oh, it's so many things that are awesome. For me, right now, what is awesome is, well, I got 2 kids right now, which keep me running around.
Yeah.
But what's awesome is people that make you laugh and piss you off and make you work harder and then help you out.
Yeah.
Like those people that are just real in your life. That's what's awesome right now. The people that you share shit with. The people that are there to help you out when you really need it, to give you a kick in the butt when you need it. But for me, what's awesome is the real people in my life right now. And that's my family, that's the people, but then also that's why I'm here in this community.
Yeah.
Because I feel I've built real relationships in this community with the artists, the actors, the filmmakers, the theater companies. So that's what's awesome for me is like the real people in your life. And kind of going to reaching out for the real local tangible things that are like, you get overwhelmed by some of the, the bigger things that may be happening in the world. And, all those things can be overwhelming. So the things that are really real and the people that are really real in my life, that's what's awesome right now. That's what I'm needing and loving and appreciating.
That's awesome. That is awesome. 100%. I love that. Well, like Stafford, thank you so much for being a part of this today. It was so great chatting with you.
Hey, Craig, I really appreciate you having me on. Yeah, a real pleasure to get to chat. And yeah, thanks for sharing these stories and getting the word out about things in this community too. Thanks for your work.
There's a great film, television, and theater scene in Calgary. You all hear me harp about it all the time, but Theatre Calgary's currently got a Streetcar Named Desire running now till February 23rd. It's the classic play brought to life, and I can't wait to see it. I'm checking it out. But also for all you people who aren't aware, you can get tickets for $44. Like to any of the productions, you can get tickets for $44. That's it.
Yeah.
So
it's a deal.
So you get to go see Stafford Perry plays Stanley, a classic character. So check it out. Theatre Calgary, right in the heart of downtown. You want to check it out. Thank you, Stafford, for being here today. Very much appreciated.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you all for passing time with me. Make sure to follow me on social media at PTW Craig, Passing Time with Craig on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll chat soon. Bye.